Good afternoon. Um, it is April Fool's Day, and there's no fool like a sovereign citizen. So, I actually had been thinking of this and decided, oh, let's do it on Saturday. And it wasn't until after I set it up that I realized how appropriate it was. Um, so let's see. Hi, Gizzy Sue. Um, Whoops, let me see. Ooh, okay. Ah. So let's see. What is a sovereign citizen? It's a Wikipedia has a little blurb which says sovereign citizen is a movement of loose grouping of litigants, activists, tax protester, financial scheme promoters, and conspiracy theorists who claim to be answerable only to their particular uh, interpretations of common law and believe that they are therefore not subject to any government statutes or proceedings unless they consent to them. So, yeah, and how many people of that ilk are going to contend? Hello, Cats Gallery. Hi, Samantha. Um, well, I didn't want to make it too late for you, so anyway, um, we had a recent case of sovereign citizen which made the news a month ago here in Utah. And so I'll get to that one in a moment. But first, let's see about, do I have the right? Make sure that I've got the right one here. Okay, let me get this rewound and we'll just edit it. We'll add it in. This is a really good explanation of the sovereign citizen movement in a nutshell. So let's start with that. So let's see. Okay, wait, where did it go? It disappeared on me, I think. Okay, wait, let's see. This is really weird. It disappeared. Okay, just a sec. Sorry about this. This is got too many tabs open is a problem. Oh, it didn't do it. Okay, let's come on. Okay, let's see.
Of this movement, and I have no doubt that we will see more.
These are folks who do not recognize the government. The FBI labels them domestic terrorists. And now the Hennepin County Sheriff has identified them as the #1 threat to local law enforcement. This is a group of people who call themselves sovereign citizens. Tonight, they're rapidly growing factors, talking with experts themselves. See how real is this threat, even here in Minnesota?
Sovereigns basically aren't 300,000 in the U.S., 100,000 of them, quote, hardcore members. Experts also say their numbers are rising, and so are concerns for local officers. He writes his name in all lowercase, Thomas-Allen-Friend. He adds ARR, all rights reserved, and a red thumbprint. This is how Thomas Friend signed dozens of documents he filed in the past year fighting felony attempted theft charges in Anoka County. Hundreds of pages state he is not a United States citizen and is not a corporate person, but is a sovereign American national, a natural physical being. These are all hallmarks of sovereign citizens. Friend declined to speak on him, trying to find a sovereign who would.
So there's a lot of things.
Only one
that I could
agreed.
talk-
Do you consider yourself a sovereign citizen?
Yes, I do.
Randy Hudson lives in a typical home, on a typical street, in a typical town of 4,700 people, Laverne, Minnesota. But his views are anything but typical. You believe all Americans are essentially corporate entities.
Yes,
You believe that all Americans are enslaved in some way.
absolutely.
Do you think some folks could be afraid of you because of what you're saying?
Probably.
Sovereigns like Hudson believe America has been transformed from a republic into a democracy, from self-government to a dictatorship, and from God's common law to unconstitutional statutory law.
Over a period of 150 years, we have slowly lost all our rights.
They trace the change to an obscure law passed in 1871, which created the government of Washington, D.C., but sovereigns believe it had a deeper, sinister purpose.
And in 1871, the government was turned into a corporation.
That leads to perhaps their most bizarre belief that the federal government has sold its citizens to investors and holds a secret bank account in the name of every American with millions of dollars in each one.
They're traded on the stock market, the same as you and I are.
Hudson says he knows how this sounds.
They think we're crazy, or they say there's absolutely no way this can be true.
But one look online shows he is far from alone.
This is a movement that's spreading and spreading rapidly.
Mark Potok with the Southern Poverty Law Center, a civil rights group, is an expert on domestic extremists, including sovereign citizens.
It is a movement that tells its adherents that everything the government says is false, that the government is secretly holding your dollars that you have a right to. And so it inculcates in its adherents an extreme kind of disrespect for the law.
He says that endangers those who uphold the law.
They see the law enforcement official as an enemy who is lying to them, who is engaged in a gigantic conspiracy to deprive them of their rights.
In 2010, father and son sovereigns murdered 2 police officers during a traffic stop in Arkansas. Last year, increasingly, quote, attempting to harass and intimidate law enforcement. In August, 2 sovereigns were arrested in Las Vegas for allegedly plotting to torture and kill police officers.
We've seen quite a bit of violence come out of this movement. I have no doubt that we will see more.
If you ask us what's the biggest concern facing us today in terms of a threat, it is sovereign citizen groups and movements across this country.
Hennepin County Sheriff Richard Stanek has a long list of concerns. He puts the sovereign citizen movement at the top.
Our encounters with sovereign citizens are becoming increasingly more violent.
They're people that don't believe in the government, the legitimacy of the government.
We rode along with Hennepin County Deputy Chad Christofferson as he made the rounds serving civil papers. Officers often come across sovereigns during such routine encounters. Christofferson says some pepper him with personal or politically charged questions. Another scrawled threats inside a foreclosed home.
They had spray painted things on the walls, calling the sheriff an oath breaker.
Then there is so-called paper terrorism, a popular sovereign tactic targeting the courts. Some, like Thomas Friend, flood the system with filings. Others are more confrontational. Thomas and Lisa Eilertson were sentenced to 23 months in prison in June after filing billions of dollars in property liens against everyone involved in the foreclosure of their home, including Stanek himself.
Where they came out to my residence, my personal residence, and confronted my family.
Stanek says he worries about an increasingly confrontational minority of sovereign citizens resorting to violence.
You all get up.
As for Hudson, he counts himself among the majority.
We get linked to the sovereign groups that are out killing people, breaking the law, trying to get what they want through force. And I don't condone it. And anybody that's their heart's into this will not condone violence.
Hudson says he's pushing for change through education.
That's all we're asking, is for the people to look at the Constitution, read it. We're not saying pick up a gun and let's overthrow the government. because it is going to happen.
But hundreds of thousands are hoping one day it will.
There might be a day, someday, that maybe this will get a republic form of government back.
This movement has spawned a kind of national shadow government, the Republic for the United States of America. It even elects its own president and state representatives. Randy Hudson served as Minnesota's lieutenant governor in that organization, but he stepped down last year, saying there was too much infighting, basically, to get anything done.
Did you get any indication that there's a plan for violence here in the Twin Cities?
There are no known plans for violence from this movement in the Twin Cities.
So this guy here seems rather reasonable, unlike some of them. I can't remember if it was. They like to do paper terrorism in the courts. They like to file frivolous lawsuits to tie up the court system, and that harms everybody really, because it's hard to get speedy justice for people who are on trial for crimes and their victims, and other things like say landlord-tenant issues. Sometimes it takes months to be able to get somebody out, and a tenant who is disgruntled can do a lot of damage in that time. So let's see, let's close that one, and let's see. Psychology. Well, let's listen to what Dr. Todd Grande has to say about these people. Just a sec. Oops, that's not okay. Okay. Trying to get this link up and running. We got a commercial here for 5 seconds. Okay, let's see. Let's share that screen. Oops, let's see. Okay, here we go.
This is Dr. Grande. Today's question asks if I can analyze the mental health and personality factors behind the sovereign citizens movement. Just a reminder, I'm not diagnosing anybody. In this video, only speculating about what could be happening in a situation like this. If you enjoy this video, please like it, subscribe to my channel, and consider supporting me on Patreon. I'll put the link to Patreon in the description for this video. The sovereign citizen movement is an anti-government ideology that started in the United States and spread to a number of other nations like Australia, Britain, Canada, and New Zealand. Sometimes sovereign citizens refer to themselves as freemen on the land. The core of their ideology is that no individual can be governed without first providing explicit consent. So essentially, they don't recognize the authority of the government to tell them what to do. They will not accept restrictions on their freedom. To them, every person is a nation unto themselves. This leads to a number of problem behaviors. Often, they don't pay taxes, they don't get their cars registered, they don't apply for a driver's license, they don't buy automobile insurance, they will not vote, obtain a marriage license, or use zip codes. So I guess they are underrepresented among mail carriers. They don't get along with the police, When the police do approach them, they won't identify themselves, and they often resist. They rarely help in criminal investigations, even if they are not the target of the investigation. It is not known exactly when the sovereign citizens originated. It's believed the movement had its origin in a combination of the Christian patriot ideology and the anti-tax movement. The Christian patriot movement wasn't against government in general. Rather, they were specifically against non-local government. They declared themselves independent citizens, elected their own officials, and established their own common law courts. At some point, we see the sovereign citizen movement takes form and grows substantially. It is estimated there are about 300,000 members in the United States alone, of which about 100,000 are fairly serious in their belief. Unfortunately, members of the group are becoming increasingly violent. Some sovereign citizens have been labeled by the FBI as domestic terrorists. In addition to violence, the group tends to engage in a lot of fraud, including mortgage fraud, bank fraud, and selling false credentials, like passports and documents that claim to grant diplomatic immunity. Now I'll take a detailed look at their beliefs. As I mentioned, the central belief is they don't recognize the government's authority over them. They believe they can renounce their status as conventional citizens and reclaim their sovereign rights. Some believe that they must put this renunciation in writing, whereas others believe they don't owe the government an official declaration. When it is in writing, the verbiage is typically odd and bizarre. So it's really beyond the idea of just having some type of choice as to what type of citizen they will be. Most members also have wider conspiratorial beliefs. They believe that members of the government are actively interfering with the dissemination of knowledge about the right to become a sovereign citizen. Like there's something written in a rule book that says people can do this, and the government officials are putting their hand over it and saying, you don't want to look at that. Furthermore, they believe that the government is actually illegitimate. So its formation in the first place was not the will of the people, and it represents corruption. They believe that they are bound by God's law or common law, which they view as the origin of the governmental system. The sovereign citizens have a very interesting view of birth certificates. At first glance, one would think they would reject the idea of a birth certificate because it's a document that is sanctioned by the government, but that's not how they view them at all. They believe that at some point, perhaps around 1933, after the gold standard was abandoned, the government came up with a new standard, which was to back the US dollar using citizens as collateral. So instead of the gold standard, I guess it's some type of citizen standard. The birth certificate represented a trust account or bond denoting each citizen's monetary value.
Just a thought here for those who are suspicious of the motivations of the government letting in all the illegal aliens across the border. Obviously, that must be so that we can become a richer nation, irrespective of the fact that we're having to shell out all this money for housing and educating and feeding and so forth. So, okay, back to Dr. Grande.
Each trust account was initially funded with between $600,000 and $20 million. So essentially, they believe that conventional citizens are slaves to the state, with the money in these trust accounts being traded on some type of international bond exchange. A corporate shell account like this is referred to as a straw man, a corporate identity created by the government. They refer to a straw man by using their name in all capitals. So when they use all capitals, that's the straw man. When they use lowercase, they're referring to themselves. Now here's where it gets even stranger. This belief affords them an opportunity. They refer to this as redemption. This is where they can separate from the state and use the money in that account to satisfy financial obligations. For example, the money can be used to pay for credit card debt, mortgage payments, car payments, and rent. It's more than just failing to recognize the authority of the government. They believe the government owes them money. It is not unusual that when a sovereign citizen is involved in a court proceeding, they will try to submit a copy of their birth certificate into evidence. Now moving to the mental health and personality factors. There are several symptoms and characteristics observed in many people identifying themselves as sovereign citizens. It is important to recognize that any particular individual sovereign citizen may not have any of these symptoms. Let's take a look at some of the common symptoms. Paranoia is one we see quite a bit. They believe they are being persecuted by the government. We see stereotyped and bizarre speech, often of a quasi-legal nature. They tend to use what appear to be carefully crafted phrases. They think they're using correct legal terminology. They do this to avoid prosecution and to discharge their financial obligations. It becomes clear right away they actually have a poor understanding of the law. They often refer to their vehicles as conveyances and alter their license plates to contain words like republic and phrases like kingdom of heaven. Their beliefs are typically egosyntonic. They seem normal to them as opposed to ego-dystonic. That's when somebody is disturbed by their own beliefs. So we see a lack of insight here. They believe they have attained a level of enlightenment that exceeds the people around them, like they have a special ability to see what's really going on. They believe they can escape liability by using lowercase letters. Again, all capitals refer to the straw man. So they use lowercase letters to be exempt from the rules. They tend to believe in a number of other conspiracy theories. For example, they might believe that the moon landing was faked, that alien lizard people have infiltrated Hollywood and the government. They might be anti-vaccination, and they may believe the earth is flat as opposed to spherical. Sovereign citizens tend to use certain words and phrases much more than people in the general population. Here are a few examples. Freeman, accepted for value, domicile, traveling in a private capacity. They like the questions, who is the victim and where is your oath of office? They use the word near with a zip code, or they use brackets around the zip code. We see the phrases common law, de facto government. They use the term employer ID number as opposed to social security number. They use the term special trust deposit. They refer to the government as a corporation, and they like the term chargeback notice. This one is popular when they are trying to get out of paying a bill. So this allows them to use that money in the trust account to pay for, again, financial obligations. Sovereign citizens are also known to engage in what's referred to as paper terrorism, mostly through filing nuisance lawsuits and liens against public officials. As far as mental health disorders, some are thought to have psychosis, including both hallucinations and delusions, although it is believed that the vast majority are not psychotic. So they probably don't have disorders like schizophrenia or a major mood disorder with psychosis. Even though their behavior often appears delusional, they may not qualify as having delusions because their beliefs are sanctioned by a large group. Interestingly, the sovereign citizens do tend to stay together. They communicate frequently about their odd beliefs. Their beliefs represent the transmission of misinformation combined with gullibility and paranoia more so than a true delusion. We also see that cluster A personality pathology and symptoms are overrepresented in this group. The cluster A personality disorders are paranoid, schizoid, and schizotypal. They are thought to be on a continuum with schizophrenia. It is not unusual to see grandiose and narcissistic behavior as well. We see a sense of entitlement, overconfidence, and arrogance. Interestingly, the presence of legal stressors due to their behavior seems to drastically increase their level of conviction in the sovereign citizen values, suggesting that many of them are simply trying to escape the consequences of criminal behavior. With all this in mind, it becomes clear that there is no one profile for members of this group. Some of the members appear to have mental disorders, like those involving psychosis and extreme personality traits, whereas others do not appear to have any mental illness at all. Their beliefs are conspiratorial, but they also happen to have a convenient utility for committing theft and fraud. Therefore, this belief system will be attractive to a wide variety of potential motivations. It's not just members that are susceptible to bizarre thinking, but also there are con artists in the group. The spread of this belief system to so many people points to the dangers of conspiratorial thinking. It's not just that one person believes something that isn't true. It's really about the ability to transmit those beliefs. With this particular movement or conspiracy theory, there is an element of danger. Often conspiracy theories are thought of as bizarre but harmless. Here we see an exception to that rule. Beliefs like these can be maintained without psychosis. They represent subclinical delusional thinking, so a level of delusional thinking that would not normally be treated by a mental health professional. This level of thinking is consistent with insufficient evidence integration, so jumping to a conclusion after seeing certain evidence without considering the rest of the evidence available, essentially a lack of critical thinking skills. I find this movement to be pretty interesting. Most conspiracy theories don't have an upside to the person who believes in them. For example, if someone believes in alien lizard people, they usually don't believe that the lizard humanoids are going to give them money or break them out of jail. It's like the members of this group were thinking, if we're going to make stuff up anyway, we might as well get something out of it. I mean, how convenient is it to find out you're owed up to $20 million? Although if they're going to make things up anyhow, they should have made it like $1 billion. They could write a book titled Turn Your Conspiracy Theories into Cash, although I don't know how they would reliably ship them places without using zip codes, so their sales might be a little sluggish. In a sense, this movement provides a convenient way to escape any legal responsibility, although not actually a good way to escape it, but in someone's thinking, they could look at this as the ultimate exception to all laws. Rather than fight each law on its merits, it's easier to simply say, I'm exempt from all legal action. Again, highly convenient to a con artist, but also, I think, something that is tempting for somebody with conspiratorial thoughts. Those are my thoughts on the
Sorry about that. I didn't realize I was muted still. Um, so, a construction worker wearing nothing but a tool belt sounds like an excessively bad idea. Um, um, you have power tools which can do nasty things. I had a friend who drilled a hole in his hand and had to go to the emergency room every day for antibiotics and so forth because of that, and things flying off unexpectedly during the construction process. That just it sounds like natural selection to me. At work, one day, a lady came in telling me about him. Oh, it fell off your stool. I can bet. So let's see. Let's see a typical sovereign citizen interaction. It seems like you've got a lot of these are traffic stops because they won't put any license plate on their car, or they'll do a fake license plate, which they paid somebody on a Sov Cit website for their phony identity documents and their phony passports and their phony driver's license and so forth, and it's not worth the paper it's printed on. But and some of them, I think they're doing it because they really believe it, and some of them, I think they're doing it just because they think it's cool to be obstructive. So he used to live by the river, and okay, here, let's go over to this one here. This is a traffic stop in Florida.
Welcome back to the channel, guys, and I hope you're all having a great weekend. I've got a smashing video for you today, so let's get straight into it.
Are you gonna get out of the car for me?
No, I have done nothing wrong. I have broken no law. I wasn't speeding. I wasn't driving erratically. I was just traveling to work.
If you're driving to work, you're operating in commerce. By your twisted logic, of course.
Make sure your camera's on.
That's all I was doing.
So you know, this is recording as
That's
well, okay?
fine.
All right, you're gonna have to step out of the car for me.
No, thank you. I haven't done anything wrong. Why do I need to step out of the vehicle?
Because you don't have a tag on your car, you don't have a license.
This is my personal convenience. I don't need a driver's license, registration, and all that. I don't have that luxury.
Florida state law says you do.
Show me.
That's on you.
Show me.
I'll be more than happy to print it out for you. I got a printer in my car and everything. I'll print it out for you.
It's not really up to the cop to provide him with the law, but good on him for offering. At least it shut him up for a few seconds.
But that is on you. It is your responsibility.
I want to see.
And those are the laws.
I'm not doing. I have
in
no.
the state of Florida, then you have to abide by those laws. If you don't like that, then find somewhere else that doesn't require to have a driver's license, which is not in the United States of America. That is the law. So you're gonna have to step out of the car for me.
No, thank you. I'm not doing anything wrong. I'm simply traveling to and from work.
I'm gonna have to break the window and come in after you. No, I don't want to call.
That's destruction of private property.
Okay.
I think most attorneys and judges agree that a suspect is required to hand over his driving license, proof of insurance, and registration to an officer. When the officer requests these documents, the suspect can and should exercise his right to remain silent. However, a refusal to comply with an officer's legal requests can grant the officer the authority to break the window.
I want to see your captain or whoever.
I already called him. My sergeant's on his way.
Thank you.
Put your hands on the.
Oh, just one little thing. They talk. They're always saying they're traveling. They're not driving, as though that means that they can do as they please. The constitutional right that they're talking about for traveling refers to back when the United States first formed a government, and he said that people have a right to travel from one state to another and not need passports and so forth between state to state. It does not have to do with the licensing of vehicles or driving privileges and so forth. So, True Crime Utah, I know this guy actually was raided at home. His wife was beat. Sorry. Is why he harasses the cops in courts and houses. Yeah, you do have people who get a beef, and so sometimes that's a legitimate complaint, and sometimes it's not quite as they present it. So I'm going to turn back here to the this officer here in Florida.
Yeah, well, I'll be right back. All right, let's do this. What's your first name?
Let's just go with Jake.
Jake?
Yeah.
All right, let's do this, Jake. I'm telling you right now, I want to do this as smoothly and easily as possible for you, okay?
Good luck with that. Sov Cits don't do smoothly and easily. They seem to like it rough and hard.
That's what she said.
So I'm asking you again to please step out of the car for me.
Why did you pull me over? Other than I don't have a tag.
Because you don't have a tag.
That's illegal.
Yes, it is.
in the state of
Not
Florida.
having a tag visible is a traffic infraction. Not having registration on the vehicle is.
You're trying to tell
not
me.
Having a driver's license is also criminal.
You're trying to tell me lies right now.
I'm not telling you.
I have a whole pen. I have a whole book back there that says otherwise. You're trying to tell me.
Put it off of for the Florida state statutes.
That's as good a comeback as P. Barnes' famous line, "That's a nice speech, but you're still not coming in." But in all seriousness, Sov Cit, stay away from state statutes like the plague.
Are you going to get out of the car or not?
No, thank you. I would rather not.
You'd rather not?
I would rather not. The reason I'm not doing anything wrong. I haven't done anything wrong. I haven't broken any law. Common law is a law of. I have the common law right to travel to and from anywhere I choose to go. Yes?
No, you do not.
No, I don't.
You do.
I don't have the constitutional right to do anything that I'm doing right now. Do I?
If you have a driver's license.
Do I have the constitutional right to do anything? I would like to see counsel.
Okay, yeah. You have the right to counsel once you're under arrest. You don't have a right to counsel provided by the state when you are stopped along the roadside. One thing he mentioned there was that he's got it all in a book. The book that he's referring to is Black's Law's Dictionary. And Black's Law's Dictionary is kind of the standard dictionary that you're going to have, used by all law students to define things generally. But each state, for the purposes of its statutes, that they define each term individually, like, an automobile is X, Y, and Z, and a driver is, A, B, and C, and so forth. And you can't cite a different state's, like you cannot use Wyoming's statutes definitions in Nevada, and you cannot. And just as like I said earlier, you've got sovereign citizens who are in Ireland or the UK or Australia, and you'll find some of them citing they'll take the Fifth Amendment, or they're citing the Uniform Commercial Code, which is American law, and that has no bearing on things outside of the United States. So it's really funny that they do that. So you can have different ones in counties. You've got different levels of if you've got something from the federal government, it's called a regulation. If it's from the state, it's a statute, and then you've got various other levels below that. Yes, I've heard that. And he was trying to tell me that I had the right to go in and film in the federal courthouse. And he raked me over the coal for 30 straight minutes on a live stream. And I was going, no, you can't do that. Maybe you can do that in California, but this is Utah, and I'm not gonna push the button. I want to have a good relationship with the courts, and I occasionally have to do business helping with evictions and a few other things, and I don't want to ruin my standing with the courts just to be some hard-nosed person trying to make a point. So yes, he can be very so okay, let's go back to this police stop here.
Okay, you do have the right to travel, just not the right to drive. And counsel is not something that happens at the side of the road. Unless, of course, your name is Squeak. But he's only helpful for getting your window busted out. Wait, that means this traffic stop is tailor-made for Squeak.
My supervisor's on his way, okay?
Okay.
But you're gonna have to get out of the car.
No, thank you.
You're gonna have to get out of the
No,
car.
thank you. I understand you. I understand the situation, but what I'm doing is nothing wrong. Nothing. I didn't break a speed limit. I was traveling with traffic. I wasn't driving erratically. I wasn't doing anything. I'm simply traveling to and from work. That's all I'm doing.
So you're following road rules like the speed limit, and you realise that driving erratically is not acceptable. It seems to be just the rules that cost you money that you conveniently don't agree with. You can't pick and choose what laws to follow. By the way, you're using travelling and driving interchangeably.
Which you have to have.
No, you do not. You can tell me all your lies all you want, but no. I have a whole stack of papers back there that says otherwise. This is America.
Yes, it is.
Now, Florida. I would rather not speak to you. I want to see counsel.
But he can't resist. Keep speaking. And this is common with sovereign citizens. They love the sound of their own voice, and so, he'll say, I don't want to speak anymore, but I guarantee you, he will.
I'm sure the cop would rather be doing something more productive than arguing your Sov Cit beliefs at the side of the road. Also, you keep telling them you want counsel like it's a roadside service police officers provide.
Which that'll come in the very near future. Okay?
Thank you.
In other words, he's saying he's going to be under arrest soon, and he'll have reason that he'll have an attorney.
It is in your very best interest if you unlock the vehicle and step out on your own accord.
Why?
Otherwise, I'm going to have to forcefully remove you from your vehicle.
Why is that? I haven't broken any law.
Because
What is the law that I broke?
You don't have a license and you don't have a registration on your vehicle.
I do not fall under your jurisdiction.
If you are in the state of Florida, you do.
Just because I'm in the state of Florida doesn't mean that I fall under the laws of Florida.
Yeah, we've noticed that.
Do you think jurisdiction works? It's not like Netflix where you can opt out one month and opt back in the next.
Do you like America? Are you proud to be an American?
Sure.
So you like to live in America, but you don't like to follow the laws of America.
Laws versus codes and statutes. I follow common law. Do no harm to nobody. Don't steal from nobody.
That's such a simplistic view of the law he and others like him have. I'm sure you could get away with that version of common law if you lived on a desert island with just a handful of people.
Unfortunately for you, there are laws that are in place that state you must have a driver's license to drive a vehicle.
No.
And your vehicle must be registered with the state. Okay?
No.
That doesn't make sense.
I'm just traveling to and from work. That's all I'm doing. I have the right to do that. I'm just doing what I have the right to do. I don't want to cause any drama. I'm just trying to support my family.
You're driving it, so that probably means you don't have insurance. So who supports the family of the person you plow into when their own insurance?
Correct.
That's what you're...
How's that?
Because I'm going to have to forcibly remove you from your car. It would definitely be in your very best interest if you just got out.
Yet, on the other hand, it will be very entertaining for us if he doesn't. What a dilemma.
I'm trying to avoid anything further. I've been very, very, very patient.
You do not have. You cannot just break my. Because you want to.
It sounds to me like he doesn't quite believe that the officer isn't following the script and acquiescing to his wishes. And he's getting a little frustrated by these sounds.
Stop playing the victim. If the cop had wanted to bust your window out, he would have done it already, and you would be in silver bracelets by now.
State item license, no registration. So,
sir, you understand in the state of Florida, you're required to tell me who you are.
I have. Let's go with the 5th. I plead the 5th.
What's going on there? Why don't you want to identify who you are?
I just am traveling to and from work.
Okay.
I have the right.
One thing is, if he doesn't believe in the authority of the government, how can he take the 5th, and how can he exert his claim to wanting a lawyer? Isn't that contradictory?
Right to do that.
Okay.
The license and registration and all that, I don't need it.
Yeah,
I don't
know.
No.
You make this a lot easier.
A driver is defined as one employed in operating a train, motorized anything.
Okay.
Amazing. Every word of what you just said was wrong.
Okay.
I'm not. I'm traveling in my personal conveyance to my job, and that's it. I'm not breaking any laws. I'm not.
So you just said that driving is somebody operating a motor vehicle, correct?
This is an automobile.
Yeah, a motor vehicle, which is an automobile.
No, it's not the same
exactly
thing.
What you're doing.
I have a pamphlet that says different. This is my personal conveyance.
Your personal
I am
conveyance?
traveling to work. That's it.
I'll keep talking.
Can't it be a conveyance as well as an automobile? Just saying.
Okay, so why don't you want to identify yourself? That's plain and simple. Do you not have a driver's license?
I don't need a driver's license.
Okay, can you just tell me your name?
Jake. Let's go with Jake.
Just Jacob.
No, Jake. Just go with Jake.
Just Jake.
Sure.
Your name could be Tom or something else.
I haven't broken any law, so therefore I don't have to provide anything. I shouldn't even be talking to you.
You don't have to talk to cops if you don't want to. Your only obligation is to provide your license, registration, and insurance, and comply with lawful orders. Not speaking is the least of your worries here.
Over for a traffic violation.
I'm not part of your corporation. I'm sorry.
Okay. So you want to do it this way to where you're going to make yourself go to jail because you're going to make this a lot easier.
I haven't broken any laws, so why should I go to
a traffic violation? You're refusing to identify.
What was a traffic violation? Why? A traffic violation does not. What traffic violation?
You don't have a tag on your vehicle.
That is not a traffic violation.
It is a traffic violation.
No, it is not.
It is not.
No, it is not.
Okay.
If my children had grown up and behaved like this, I would know I have failed them.
I fall under common law jurisdiction.
Okay.
I am not about to play this. I'm not.
Okay, well, nobody's trying to play anything with you, sir. We just have a job to do, okay? We're trying to get you out of here as fast as possible, that's all.
Okay, then let me be on my way.
Okay,
I would like to be on my way. I haven't broken any law.
Provide your identification, you'll be free to go.
I do not need to provide. I do not need to provide my information. I haven't broken any law. There's no injured party. There's nobody complaining against me. I haven't broken any law.
Okay, well, let me ask you something. Okay, Is the vehicle registered to you?
I own it.
Okay, you own it. So go ahead and remove the thing you were covering your VIN number with.
No, thank you.
You
That's.
don't have to hand me anything.
I do not have to. I do not have to provide any information incriminating myself on anything.
Okay, you're not incriminating yourself. You're identifying who you are.
Exactly. That's incriminating. Look, my lawyer told me I shouldn't be talking to you.
Okay.
Okay, so it was your lawyer who told you not to talk to the police. Well, that's fair, I guess. But a real lawyer will also tell you to produce your documents and comply with lawful orders. So either you're cherry picking the advice you're getting from your lawyer, or your lawyer is squeak.
I haven't broken any law. I haven't done anything wrong. I'm just traveling to and from work. That's all I am doing. There's no need in violence. There's no need in breaking my personal conveyance in any way, shape, or form.
Yeah, we don't
I haven't broken any law. Your guy said that he was going to smash my window and remove me from the car when I haven't done anything wrong. And if I was to pull you over and yank and bust your window and yank you out of your car, what?
Okay.
Then what?
Well, I would at least provide my information as I'm supposed to per Florida law.
But they're not walking straight up to your car and breaking your window. That is the end result of this stop. But they are trying their best to avoid it. You're lucky you weren't stopped by Officer Shipley. He didn't waste 30 minutes trying to persuade Quimbeck to comply with his lawful orders. He had his window busted out within a minute.
Only if you've committed a crime and I haven't committed a crime.
You've committed a traffic violation.
That is not a crime. That is not a crime.
Committing a crime.
That is not a crime.
It is a crime.
No.
In the state of Florida, it is a crime.
It is not a crime.
We're trying to make this a lot easier for you. All you have to do is just, like I said, if you just move the cardboard from there, you don't have to provide me anything. We just need to verify who you are, and then you'll be on your way. You're making this a lot bigger deal than it actually is. I understand you want to go home. The faster you give us your information.
Oh, I don't want to go. I want to go to work.
Okay. Well, you're not going to get the work either.
That's all I would like to do is go to work.
Okay. I would like for you to go to work too. But at the same time, work with us. I understand you have your beliefs and everything else.
It's not a belief.
It's not a belief at all.
Nope. I got a pack of papers back there that says different.
Okay. Can I see that pack of paper?
Sure you can, but I don't want to get shot.
Okay. Where's it at?
Right behind me.
Right behind you. Do you have any firearms in the car?
Hell no.
Okay. Where's in that little binder right there?
Yep.
Okay. If you want to reach for it and show me it, that's fine.
Okay, get ready for this.
Okay.
I don't have it all like organized or anything like that.
Props to the cop for keeping a straight face when presented with the Christmas craft paper.
That's straight out of a legal dictionary.
I see that right on the internet.
The legal dictionary doesn't have any force or meaning.
But this has gone all the way up into the Supreme Court.
Okay.
The right to travel is...
Apart from the window bust at the end, which is good, this is the best part for me. The cop runs rings around him and takes apart his argument better than I've seen any cop do it. Well, other than the veteran cop owning the Sov Cit Flat Earther guy a couple of years ago.
Well, driving's a privilege. It's not a right.
No. Yes, for them. For you.
For them.
For them? For you?
Rules don't apply to you.
No. I fall under common law.
Okay.
I don't take part in this corporation.
Okay, that's what I mean. They don't apply to you.
No, I didn't say that. I fall under common law. Common law is don't steal, don't shoot nobody, don't kill nobody, don't do harm to others. I haven't done...
The laws of the state of Florida don't apply to you.
This...
Just follow common law.
I would like to be free to go.
Well, you're not free to go.
If he let you leave, you'll be committing further traffic violations. Funnily enough, that's how it used to happen in the UK up until about 15 years ago. If you were caught driving without insurance, the police would just issue you a ticket and you would be on your way. Now they just tow your vehicle and crush it if you don't pay up.
I haven't broken any law.
You're breaking law right now.
Law.
Law, yes.
Common law.
Written law.
Common law.
Again, like I said, according to you, Florida laws don't apply to you because you only follow common law.
Common law.
Yeah.
Common law. Don't this stuff. I'm gonna be quiet now because I haven't done anything wrong. I haven't broken any law.
You've done something wrong according to Florida law, but you don't feel that you've broken any of your laws. So
they're not my laws. It's common law.
I know. That's what I'm saying. They're your laws that you follow.
Firstly, like all soft cits, you have a very basic understanding of common law. Secondly, can you imagine how dangerous it would be to drive on a road if we didn't have to follow basic traffic laws? I think he needs to read the 10th Amendment. What am I saying? He doesn't care about the Constitution. I'm from the UK and I care more about it than him.
I don't think anybody's been rude to you at this point or anything like that. Just trying to do our job, sir.
Your job.
What kind of work? What kind of work do you do?
Right now, tree work.
What kind?
Tree work.
Okay.
I'm gonna stop talking now.
All right.
Why in the world would you pull this right to travel crap on your way to work? Especially as he's so concerned with providing for his family. Soft cits choose the stupidest hills to die on.
I would like to see my counsel now.
Okay, you can call them and have them come here if they want. I don't have to provide you counsel. You provide your own counsel. So you said you have them, so go ahead and call them. Don't. I'm recording too, so nothing's going to happen to you. So if you're requesting to see your counsel, go ahead and call them.
Yeah.
Finally, it only took him 20 minutes to realise how stupid an idea that was. It's quite rare to watch a soft cit back down on one of his stupid ideas.
He don't want to talk anymore.
I don't have to.
Nothing I can go ahead and just.
I haven't done anything wrong. I'm simply traveling to and from work.
Okay. Again,
I haven't broken any law. I have hurt nobody. Where is the injured party?
There's absolutely nothing I can do.
Where is the injured party?
I think I should be classed as the injured party for having to put up with you for so long, as well as the taxpayers of Florida for police time wasted due to your childish behaviour. Also, my viewers who are being made to wait 25 minutes for that sweet window bust action.
But again, there's nothing I can do at this point to get your cooperation to provide some kind of photo ID.
I don't have ID.
You don't have an ID at all.
The only thing I have is my debit card.
Okay. Does it have your name on it?
Yes, it does.
Okay. Can you just hold it up against the window? That way I can see your name.
I have to go in my bag for it, and your guy over here has been itchy.
Okay. Do you have anything in your bag? Okay.
Other than stuff I go to work with.
Okay. And you said you do tree work, right? So you'd have no firearms or anything like that?
No.
Just maybe a pocket knife or something, right?
Maybe. No, I don't. Yeah.
Where is your debit card in your bag?
In my top pocket by the handle.
Okay. If you do it slowly enough, you can put the bag in your lap and reach for your debit card. Okay.
10 folk. That's all I'm gonna say. Thank you.
How old are you, Jacob?
That's all I'm gonna say.
Like I said, Jacob, all we want to do is get you to work, man. You know?
Mm-hmm.
Like I said, I know you believe in the whole sovereign citizen thing. I get that. That's what you want to go by.
Nope.
But at the end of the day,
I'm just an American. I'm just an American.
Okay.
That's all. That's it. That's all I'm saying. I'm done.
Predictably, the name on his bank card isn't enough because he didn't give his date of birth or address. They can't find his name through their checks on the car because he doesn't have plates and he's intentionally covered up his VIN number. So the officers give him one final chance to step out of the vehicle.
Just so we're clear, just so to let you know the situation, okay? if you don't step out, I want to step out peacefully.
I haven't broken any law. I don't
Listen
need to.
me. If you don't, then we're gonna have to.
I have not.
By any means necessary.
I have not broken any law. I haven't broken. Right? I haven't broken.
Awesome.
Where's it?
But you understand what I'm telling you, right?
You're telling me that you're gonna break my property. My property. You're gonna break my property and take me out of. Yes, you are. You're telling me that you're gonna break my property and remove me from the vehicle because I'm doing something that I have the right to do.
No, that's your interpretation of what the officer said.
I haven't done anything wrong.
Okay.
There is no injured party.
Jacob, I've already told you by what you're doing right now, refusing to identify yourself.
You have my name.
What's that?
You have my name.
But no,
that's all you need.
Coming back.
Because I'm a private citizen. I do not need to tell you anymore. I am a private citizen. I do not need to be a part of your corporation. Thank you. I haven't done anything wrong. There is no injured party. I haven't hurt nobody. I wasn't driving erratically or anything. I was simply traveling to work. Jacob. That's it.
Jacob, are you gonna get out of the car?
No, thank you. I do not need to. I haven't broken any law. I haven't done anything wrong. I haven't hurt anybody. I haven't done anything wrong. I do not need any of this. I am just simply traveling to work.
Come on, do it.
I'm a private.
So Jacob, are you gonna get out?
I'm a private citizen. You do not need to do this.
Thank you so much for watching. Please like, share, and subscribe if you.
Okay. Yeah, I like that. So that's a very typical stop. The law enforcement isn't always that patient. You want me to rewind? Okay, let's go back and see the big moment here. Let's see. Okay.
I haven't done anything wrong. There is no injured party. I haven't hurt nobody. I wasn't driving erratically or anything. I was simply traveling to work. Jacob. That's it.
Jacob, are you gonna get out of the car?
No, thank you. I do not need to. I haven't broken any law. I haven't done anything wrong. I haven't hurt anybody. I haven't done anything wrong. I do not need any of this. I am just simply traveling to work. I'm a private.
So Jacob, are you gonna get out?
I'm a private citizen. You do not need to do this.
Thank you so much for watching.
That's so satisfying when he finally gets it. Okay, let's see. I had some other moments. Oh, let's see. Okay, here we've got an eviction, which is another sovereign citizen. So let's. I do a lot of evictions with my friends, so oops, I didn't do that quite right. Let me see. Okay, this. I can't remember where this is.
So this is Dr. Grande.
Oh, nope,
Today's question asks if I can analyze the mental health and personality factors behind.
I got the wrong one. Sorry. Okay.
Yourself is Dwayne
Oh.
Davis Jr.
Okay, let's see. We need to start it at the beginning. Come on. Okay.
Los Angeles many years ago. I never encountered a sovereign citizen defense, so this one was interesting. He, again, like the others, claims he's not himself, claims he's the beneficiary, holds up some stupid paper that doesn't really mean anything. But to simply say that you're not the person being evicted, but you live there, well, that's just not going to work.
Dwayne Davis Jr.
I'm the beneficiary owner right here.
Do you reside at 2170 East Jefferson, Unit 1007?
Yes, the estate does assign there.
Do you reside in that property?
The beneficiary, yes.
Do you? Who the person I'm talking to, is that the person who is in this property at 2170 East Jefferson? You're not answering my question. All right, okay. At this point, I don't see anyone who resides at 2170 East Jefferson, Unit 1007. If
That means a default's about to be entered if you're going to play the game and not pretend that you're there.
you do reside there, please make the court aware of it.
Okay.
Your Honor, since the defendant has not identified himself as the defendant in this particular matter.
I just did. I just told you I'm the beneficiary.
Your Honor,
Other name.
Your Honor, since the defendant has not identified himself as a person in this property, he's attempting to try to act like he's a sovereign. This property is owned and it's an apartment building. We're asking for a default judgment at this time. If he decides to pay it, that's great. If not, we'll be moving forward after time expires.
This is right on the money.
If he wants to file the appropriate court paper or identify himself to the court as you've requested on numerous occasions, then we can proceed forward. At this time, playing these legal games is against.
I have a birth certificate right here.
Against the law. Two, we provide the court with a lease agreement. We provide the court with the ledger. We're asking for a default judgment.
The court is in receipt of a summons, a complaint, a demand for non-payment of rent, as well as a lease agreement.
The summons is never notarized.
To be notarized. And on top of that, what the judge is doing now is setting up the grounds for default.
When's the last time you paid rent?
Long time.
All right, that's an automatic loss unless you have a legal defense, which would be habitability, something along those lines.
Back balance, but Pasadena never put it to my account. So I consider Pasadena either took the money or what. I don't know what they did with it, but Siri definitely paid it. It's on the record. It's on my the record with the Siri. You can find it in their profile. But they're supposed to pay my back.
I don't know. I can't find it in my profile. So you qualified. Sarah paid. How much did Sarah pay?
They paid up to like September, but they didn't pay they're supposed to pay July, August, September, but Pasadena never put that to my account.
Your Honor, if it wasn't applied, we didn't receive. I'm not going to sit and argue all day, Your Honor. Bottom line is, it is the money is for his benefit. It is not for my client's benefit. Just like paying a mortgage payment. If I send a mortgage payment in, if it's not received, it's still on me.
That's
if
right.
You send a mortgage payment on my behalf and it's not received, it's still on the person who has the mortgage.
That's right.
Are you even identifying yourself as Dwayne Davis Jr.?
No, I'm the beneficiary of that name.
So that's not an answer
So
to the
are you
question.
not Dwayne Davis Jr.?
No, I am not.
No, I am not. Okay, default can be entered now. The judge needed to hear that. At this moment, he has just confessed that he is not here, which means there is nobody to oppose the eviction. Now the court doesn't even have to consider any defenses.
Okay, we are entering, the court has not received the call or answer from Dwayne Davis Jr. Does anyone on this Zoom reside at 2170 East Jefferson, number 1007?
That's called the Marietta defense, and that is there any other tenants that could be living there who haven't been named in the eviction, so that way the judge makes sure everybody gets evicted.
Who lives in that property on this Zoom?
Your Honor, again, no one's responded, asking for my default judgment. We can submit it to the court before the end of the day, along with the full legend.
Default judgment granted.
Thank you, Judge.
How's it going?
Good, how are you?
Good, I'm Officer Farmington Police. Reason for the stop today is there's no registration on your vehicle.
I don't need registration and I don't answer questions.
Alrighty. Davis, Fox 21. Can you have a couple more heading my way? Is this back window roll down?
Why do you need to know that?
I just want to make sure that you're the only one in the vehicle. So here's the deal, man. I'm stopping you because there's no registration on your vehicle, and I'm requesting your identification. Okay? You are detained at this time, and you are not free to leave. Are you going to provide me your identification?
I don't answer questions.
Okay, so I'm going to take that as a no, that you're not going to provide me your identification. Is that the route we're going? Or would you like to provide your identification to me, and we can have a conversation, we can discuss the laws that you're breaking, and then we can go from there.
If you want my identification, you'll be under duress and you accept surety and trusteeship over it. Meaning you will be responsible for any debts that you're trying to incur here.
Okay, so I'm not trying to incur any debts or anything. I'm trying to investigate why your vehicle doesn't have any registration.
1692, you are trying to incur a debt and legal action for something
Okay.
that is not allowed.
Okay.
And under
So,
Title 18, Section
here's
245, traveling is a federally protected
Okay.
activity. in which
I understand what you're saying.
involved in.
I understand what you're saying. And what I'm telling you is that you do not have an option to identify yourself.
I do.
You are lawfully required to identify yourself. So you can provide your identification to me, and we can have a conversation about the laws that you've broken, or you can fail to identify it to me, and we can go that route too. I'm perfectly okay with either way you want to go, but the direction that this encounter goes is 100% in your hands.
Sir, Utah Code, United States,
It is a corporate policy
Okay.
in which you have to be contracted and to be required to follow it. Unless you can provide me a contract with my wet ink signature on it saying that I'm required to follow it,
Okay.
then there's
So do you want to identify yourself to me, or do you want to go a different route? Wonderful. Do you have a driver license as well?
I am not giving you jurisdiction.
Okay.
Do not stop. Do not detain. You are not allowed to stop me.
Let me see that.
On your list
I didn't see what you just tried to show me. Can you show that to me again? What's this?
This is a passport. It says do not stare, do not detain. And if you go on the first page,
Okay.
it says the United States hereby requests all who may concern
Okay.
to permit the citizens.
Here's what I'm telling you. Here's what I'm telling you.
Without delay or hindrance.
Okay. Will you hand that to me so I can read it? You want me to look at it through this tiny crack in your window?
I'm not handing it to you.
You're not going to hand it to me?
If I hand this to you, you accept trusteeship and surety, and you are obligated.
Sure, I'll accept trustingship if you just hand me the document so I can identify who you are, because you're required by state law.
I am not.
Thank you so much, Mr. Chase Allen.
That is not me. That is a piece of plastic paper.
So you have a fraudulent passport?
No.
Wonderful. That's what I'm hearing. Okay, step out of the car for me.
No.
Sorry so much for my plan there. I thought that it was going to do the audio. Let me see. Let me back up from where he said the name. Okay. Just a sec. I didn't want to show the controversial part. Okay, let's see. Oh, okay. No wonder that's not working. It was behind. Okay. Let's go back over here. Okay, this accelerated really fast, so.
Free to leave. Are you going to provide me your identification?
I don't answer questions.
Okay, so I'm going to take that as a no, that you're not going to provide me your identification. Is that the route we're going? Or would you like to provide your identification to me, and we can have a conversation, we can discuss the laws that you're breaking, and then we can go from there.
If you want my identification, you'll be under duress and you accept surety and trusteeship over it, meaning you will be responsible for any debts that you're trying to incur here.
Okay, so I'm not trying to incur any debts or anything. I'm trying to investigate why your vehicle doesn't have any registration.
1692, you are trying to incur debt and legal action for something
Okay.
that is not allowed.
Okay.
And under
So,
Title 18, Section
here's-
245,
here's the-
traveling is a federally protected activity.
Okay.
in which
I understand what you're saying. I understand what you're saying. And what I'm telling you is that you do not have an option to identify yourself.
I do.
You are lawfully required to identify yourself. So you can provide your identification to me and we can have a conversation about the laws that you've broken, or you can fail to identify it to me and we can go that route too. I'm perfectly okay with either way you want to go, but the direction that this encounter goes is 100% in your hands.
Sir, Utah Code, United States Code,
Okay.
is a corporate policy
Okay.
in which you have to be contracted and to be required to follow it. Unless you
Okay.
can provide me a contract with my wet ink signature on it saying that I'm required to follow it,
Okay.
then there is
So do you
nothing
want
I'm obligated
to identify yourself to me, or do you want to go a different route? Wonderful. Do you have a driver license as well?
I am not giving you jurisdiction.
Okay.
Do not stop. Do not detain. You are not allowed to stop me.
Let me see that.
On your list
I
saying that
didn't
you're
see
not
what you
allowed
just tried to show me. Can you show that to me again? What's this?
This is a passport. It says, do not stay up, do not detain. If you go on the first page,
Okay.
it says, the United States hereby requests all who may concern
Okay.
to permit the citizens
Here's what I'm telling you.
United States named herein
Here's what I'm telling you.
without delay or hindrance.
Okay.
You are
Will you hand that to me so I can read it? You want me to look at it through this tiny crack in your
I am not
window?
handing it to you.
You're not going to hand it to me?
If I hand this to you, you accept trusteeship and surety, and you are obligated.
Sure, I'll
to
accept trustingship if you just hand me the document so I can identify who you are, because you're required by state law.
I am not
Thank you
required
so
to
much,
identify
Mr.
myself.
Chase Allen.
That is not me. That is a piece of plastic paper.
So you have a fraudulent passport?
No. that is a
Wonderful.
piece of paper.
That's what I'm hearing. Okay, step out of the car for me.
No.
Sir, step out of the vehicle
No.
right now.
I am not required to.
Step
If
out
you
of this
try and
vehicle
force
right
me,
now.
Then we're going to have an issue where
Sir,
you're
step
gonna have
out of the
to
car.
Okay, they're investigating. He's not moving. They're pulling him out of the car, handcuffing him. The young man is still alive at this point. They're getting emergency stuff before the paramedics arrive. Okay, now they're sending all of the officers that were did the firing off.
Yeah. Am I going to turn this off? Leave it on for now? I'm good.
Do you want to sit in my car?
No. Hey, Kelly, can you grab my phone so I can call my wife? Or your phone just so I can call her?
Do you know our number?
Yeah.
No, he was shot. Multiple gunshots because he had a gun that he was reaching for, which was found on the floor of the car after they pulled
Can I just
him
go
out.
walk over here and call her?
And
I didn't do anything with them.
he was reaching down. It looked like maybe he could have been reaching for the seat belt, but it was also where his holster was. Yes, he was shot, and the young man died. So this is when a sovereign citizen takes things too far. And it does a number on the psyche of the police officers. They don't want this. Yes. We're gonna hear some audio from an interaction. Apparently, his mother is a sovereign citizen as well, and he was trying to represent his mom in court nearly a year ago.
Okay, good. I'm good.
So,
I know, I'm not talking about Justin.
so the paramedics arrived. I think we'll go over. Let's stop this now and let's get the audio clip from when he appeared with his mother in court, so you can get a flavor of what this guy is like. So. Oh, did I get the wrong one?
New details. Audio recordings show the moment Chase Allen, the man who was shot and killed by Farmington police, had a previous confrontation with officers. It's our top story on 2 News at 6. I'm Jamie McGriff.
I'm Mark Cabell. We told you 25-year-old Chase Allen died last Wednesday after he was pulled over for driving without a correct license plate. KUTV's Amanda Gilbert live in Davis County with the exclusive recordings from inside a courthouse. Amanda?
Yeah, the audio you're about to hear is from the Davis County Justice Court where I'm standing. It was September of last year. Chase Allen's mom, Diane Allen, was defending herself in a trial she brought to court over an April 2022 traffic violation. Chase was there as well.
This trial begins with Mom Diane Allen, who believes she is not a citizen of the United States.
Absolutely not.
Repeatedly objecting the judge and the system as she fights 2 traffic violations, driving without a license and no registration.
Object, Your Honor, to any proceeding in this matter.
Overruled. 7 minutes into the trial, things escalate.
Absolutely not. Let him go. He's done nothing wrong.
Allen's son Chase was in the courtroom. At the time, court documents say he was disruptive and non-compliant. You can hear him and his mom protest his removal.
This entire proceeding is improper. He said nothing to you. He did not disrupt anything.
Eventually, from the courtroom, Diane calls 911.
Someone's being assaulted.
Is this 911?
Yes, it is.
Hang up. This is
I'm not hanging up. You need to call my. You need to direct them in here right now. The rights are being violated. They're saying assault and battery. I'm being assaulted. I'm being assaulted. Please, you need to send help right now.
Diane then leaves. Utah criminal defense attorney Clayton Sims listened to part of this audio.
It's sad knowing that leads to sort of a tragic end.
He says it's okay to express one's beliefs.
There's nothing un-American about, fighting the legal system or fighting your criminal case.
However,
but if you're disruptive in the courtroom, the judge and the bailiff can control that disruptive behavior and remove you or arrest you.
Sims believes there are similar patterns between this interaction and the traffic stop that sadly led to Chase's death.
That he was defiant to authority, did not sort of de-escalate and sort of calm down. And I think that's probably what happened in the traffic event too.
And Diane's trial did continue after she left the courtroom. In the end, the judge did find her guilty of 2 traffic violations. She was fined $100. Now, this was a 25-minute trial, so if you'd like to see more, head to our news app or YouTube channel. Amanda Gilbert, KUTV 2 News.
Yeah, then there's the little detail that filming and recording in a courtroom is against the Utah state statutes. So unless you have approval from the court, that's forbidden. So let's see. What do I have? Anything else? I've got a defense lawyer's analysis of is my brother attending the organ this weekend? He was playing the organ last Sunday at the organ concert series. And his organ teacher used to be the tabernacle organist, and well, actually, he was my piano teacher too. But I didn't go very far. Let's see. There's another eviction thing, and I'm trying to decide which is better, the eviction, which kind of shows you some of the silliness of sovereign citizen school of thought. Let me see if I can get that up. Sorry about this. Let's see. Let's see. I think this is the one. So let's see if this is it. Sorry, this is a long commercial.
Hey guys, and welcome to today's video. I've been under the weather a bit, so ignore the voice. You can guess who the sovereign citizen is. If you said the jackass holding up the Secretary of State sign, then you'd be correct. Because today, we have a sovereign citizen in court who gets evicted in style. Guardian style, that is. So let's begin.
Calling case number 22393437. This is Pasadena Investments LLC versus Dwayne Davis Jr. and all occupants at 2170 East Jefferson, Unit 1007.
Your Honor, for the record, Attorney Frederick J. Coleman, P56548 on behalf of the plaintiff. Your Honor, Mr. Davis at this time owes $6,706, court cost of $157. This is a subsequent hearing.
All right, Mr. Davis or Ms. Davis? Okay,
yeah, I'm
the
beneficiary of Dwayne Davis right here. The beneficiary.
What is it?
Are you Dwayne? Are you Dwayne?
Do you really have to ask? Because clearly he's the beneficiary of copious amounts of fetal alcohol.
Excuse me. Are you Dwayne Davis Jr.?
I'm the beneficiary owner right here.
Do you reside at 2170 East Jefferson, Unit 1007?
Yes, the state.
you?
If
Who
the
the
defendant is
person
not-
I'm talking to, is that the person who is in this property at 2170 East Jefferson? You're not answering my question.
I don't fully understand it. Say it again.
All right, okay. At this point, I don't see anyone who resides at 2170 East Jefferson, Unit 1007. If you do reside there, please make the court aware of it.
Okay.
Your Honor, since the defendant has not identified himself as the defendant in this particular matter.
I just did. I just told you I'm the beneficiary.
Your Honor,
Of the name.
Your Honor, since the defendant has not identified himself as a person in this property, he's attempting to try to act like he's a sovereign. This property is owned and is an apartment building. We're asking for a default judgment at this time. If he decides to pay it, that's great. If not, we'll be moving forward after time expires.
Before we proceed with this matter, can I ask the director of the beneficiary? I'm talking to the plaintiff, sir.
Then why don't you just call him the plaintiff, you idiot? All that this quantum grammar bullshit has ever done for the sovereign citizen movement is result in more fraud, more convictions, and, like today, more evictions.
My legal person, I'm showing you right here, a corporation. Can you write me in 21 days and provide me evidence that you have legal?
Your Honor, none of
I
that
just
is
wanna know-
required by law in this court. I'm asking for a default judgment this time. Quit wasting the court's time. If he
I ain't
wants to
wasting
file
your
the
court's
appropriate-
time.
If he wants to file the appropriate court paper or identify himself to the court as you've requested on numerous occasions, and we can proceed forward. At this time, playing these legal games is against.
I have a birth certificate right here.
Against the law. Two, we provide the court with a lease agreement. We provide the court with the ledger. We're asking for a default judgment.
The court is in receipt of a summons, a complaint, a demand for non-payment of rent, as well as a lease agreement.
The summons was
signed
never
with-
notarized.
Signed with Dwayne Davis Jr., as well as the proof of service.
Well, they do have proof of service, so they don't need it notarized. And even if they did have it notarized, they would still need proof of service. A real lawyer would know this.
Mr. Davis, Dwayne Davis Jr. How much is your monthly rent?
I want to say 900.
No, this
When's
is
the last
good.
time you paid rent?
Long time. Siri paid my back balance, but Pasadena never put it to my account. So I consider Pasadena either took the money or what. I don't know what they did with it, but Siri definitely paid it. It's on the record. It's on my the record with the Siri. You can find it in their profile. But they're supposed to pay my back
I don't
balance.
know. I can't find it in my profile. So you qualify. Sarah paid. How much did Sarah pay?
They paid up to like September, but they didn't pay they're supposed to pay July, August, September, but Pasadena never put that to my account.
Your Honor, if it wasn't applied, my client didn't receive it.
Uh-oh, someone may have committed a crime. You see, SARA is a COVID relief fund that was used by many residents of Michigan during the pandemic. Sometimes the SARA funds were paid directly to the landlord, but other times the SARA funds would be paid directly to the tenant, and the tenant would be responsible for giving it to the landlord. If SARA paid that money out and the landlord didn't get it, then the sovereign citizen did. And if the sovereign citizen didn't pay the landlord like he was supposed to, well, then that dumbass may have just committed theft or larceny by conversion, which is basically the conversion of money or property that belongs to somebody else into personal use, like edible paint chips.
That is not our burden. It's his
But
burden.
that's in documents though that they were supposed to pay. I have it in documents.
Your Honor, I'm not going to sit and argue all day, Your Honor. Bottom line is, the money is for his benefit. It is not for my client's benefit. Just like paying a mortgage payment. If I send a mortgage payment in, if it's not received, it's still on me. If you send a mortgage payment on my behalf and it's not received, it's still on the person who has the mortgage. He's the renter. It is his responsibility to have the money paid, or to whoever's paying on his behalf, that we receive it. We have done everything we're supposed to do. The documentation speaks for itself. At this time, again, I'm requesting for either default judgment or judgment by hearing.
And then I'm talking to the plaintiff. Can you just write me and saying that you have authority as a public servant to me?
Excuse me, but what makes you think that he's a public servant to you or anybody else? He's an attorney hired by the property, and he don't owe you shit except for a swift eviction.
Your Honor, I am not writing. I'm not
Mr. Davis. This is a landlord-tenant court. This is summary proceedings. This is the second hearing, and you're afforded legal counsel. Legal counsel was available. They said that they could not assist you at this matter. Are you even identifying yourself as Dwayne Davis Jr.?
No, I'm the beneficiary of that name.
So are you not Dwayne Davis Jr.?
No, I am not. I am not.
Okay.
Well, that's one way to speed run the eviction process. Just don't answer the call to defend yourself and let the other lawyer stick his boot up your Sov hole.
Okay, we are entering, the court has not received the call or answer from Dwayne Davis Jr. Does anyone on this Zoom reside at 2170 East Jefferson, number 1007? Is anyone present who lives in that property on this Zoom?
Your Honor, again, no one's responded, asking for my default judgment. We can submit it to the court before the end of the day, along with a full ledger.
Default judgment granted.
Thank you, Judge.
Please submit the paperwork. Call, you're free to leave. Well, nobody identified themselves, so calling the next case.
I love how he just sits there wondering.
Okay. Yeah, if anybody out there has rental property and somebody comes along and is showing the least sign of being a sovereign citizen, I would say turn them away so fast it'll make their head spin, because you don't want to get involved in this nonsense. Let's see. Oh, I guess the last thing I had on the thing was a defense lawyer and his analysis. He kind of presents a few points of what they're trying to accomplish, and let's see. It seemed like a good analysis.
Good morning, everyone. DUI guys back. Let me just adjust it real quick. Sorry, I know I have the beanie hat that you all have been joking about, my ceiling fan right above my head, until I find a place where I can actually stream, maybe in my new office whenever that becomes available. Unfortunately, this will have to make do. Today, we are going to be talking about a topic that the more I'm learning about YouTube is very popular, and a lot of people have inquiries and questions and just want to know more about this concept of what it means to be a sovereign citizen. So let's dive right in. First thing I just wanted to note is that when I actually try to make an ad for this on Facebook, because I kind of wanted to let my friends and followers on Facebook know I wanted to make an ad for it. My ad was declined by Facebook. They said, we require pages to be authorized to run ads related to politics and issues of national importance. And they had a link to what does it mean to have an issue of national importance. So I looked it up, and it falls under 3, which I could find potentially. Government reform, crime, or terrorism, which definitely those 3 are not something that you want to have your organization fall under, or your belief system to fall under. Maybe government reform, but there's a lot better ways to accomplish that. So full disclosure, I had to do a lot of research, because we all know the basic precept of what it means to be a sovereign citizen, but nobody really knows what it means, because everybody seems to have their own definition, whatever works for that particular sect in this area and whatever works for another particular sect in another area. So there's a lot of confusion as to what it is, but there seems to be a general theme that kind of is covered by all the definitions. So let's start with, what is it? Wikipedia, I believe, defines it as a sovereign citizen is a member of a political movement of people who oppose taxation, question the legitimacy of government, and believe that they're not subject to United States law. So my first thought, as soon as I read that, I was like, isn't that the definition of an anarchist? Maybe, maybe not. I need to research some more. There was a quote, sovereign citizens may not respect police officers' authority, or cops' authority, I think was the original quote. So that already implies that they are not seeing the United States government as somebody that can, they do not have to follow their laws. Whatever laws that the United States has, they did not agree upon, and they don't have to follow. Again, it's starting to smell like anarchy. That's the only thing that I was going through my mind in the early stages of my research, but let's continue. So how popular is it? It started in the 1960s, which we'll get to in a moment, but they become more and more popular because of the internet. The government obviously doesn't like them, naturally. I was not expecting anything short of that. Even the FBI classifies some, not all, but some sovereign citizen extremists, as they call them, as domestic terrorists. Again, that's not a title that you want to have, but it makes sense that the government would label them as such because they're going against the government. Hello. In 2010, the Southern Poverty Law Center estimated there are about 100,000 Americans who are hardcore sovereign believers, with another 200,000 just testing out what they can do to get away from like speeding tickets, drug possession, stuff like that. They were perceived as a threat back in 06 and 07. They were about number 7 on the list, I think the FBI list or whatever, as a perceived threat. In 2013 to 14, they became number 1. So again, it doesn't bode well so far for our sovereign citizen folk, at least in the sense that they are trying to go against the government. Again, it's starting to reek of just very, very, you'll see what I mean in a moment. So how do you invoke your sovereign citizen status or rights? How do they even classify themselves? They find loopholes in court decisions. They selectively read the Constitution and tax codes just to, there's no cohesiveness. Whatever they cherry pick, which is always a problem, because if I'm presenting a court case to a judge, for instance, and the case says one thing, but it means another, but there's just one sentence that I really, really like, and if I take it out of context, then it helps me and I can use it, I will look like a moron in court, because the prosecutor will simply, or the opposing party will simply read the rest of that sentence, and then I would be really, really, really frowned upon, okay? Yes, actually, Paula, we'll get to that in a moment. It is an oxymoron. So here's, so selective reading is never good. I'm reading, I had to do a lot of research for this, by the way, so that I'm up to speed so I can talk about it. So taking things out of context is always bad. Now, why do they invoke it? Now, this is, I think, the most critical point of all that I found in all my research. Ignorance leads to powerlessness, helplessness. And the government is taking advantage of that, because a lot of people are uninformed. They don't know their rights. They don't know the basic, I mean, civics is almost dead. Nobody teaches civics anymore. People don't know what the laws are, what the basic precepts of their freedom, what do they mean? So the government takes advantage of that, and people who can't afford a lawyer get sucked into the system. So we are giving more to the government because we're ignorant of our rights. So they're kind of, the positive thing out of that is that they're trying to kind of change it. They're trying to raise as much awareness as possible, albeit maybe not the best possible means, again, which we'll get to in a moment. So what is the claim? I never agreed to abide by the federal government and do not follow the laws of the United States. They see officers as mechanisms, that police officers, as mechanisms that impede their ability to exist freely in the society. Okay? Now, obviously, that statement right there is laden with problems. Let's explore them. So here's the problem. If citizens could choose to follow certain laws but ignore the others, society would break down, okay? The only reason society works is because there are rules. We all agreed upon those rules. We'll follow the rules. And that is why they're always going to lose in court when they try to invoke their sovereignty status. I do not abide by, well, you're on U.S. soil. Too bad, so sad, okay? even if they have strength in numbers, it still won't do them any good, because now they become, as you've seen over the years, over the last 10 years, they become an even greater danger, and they're looked at with a lot more scrutiny, not just by the government, by the people themselves. So it's almost like a lose-lose-lose situation. No matter how they try to approach it, they are always going to lose, but they keep on trying. The Supremacy Clause of Article 6 of the Constitution covers all citizens on U.S. land. They will have to renounce their citizenship, and the only way to do that is to remove themselves from U.S. soil. You cannot, it's oxymoronic and contradictory to remain physically present in a country where you renounce the citizenship thereof. It's impossible, okay? You have to physically be in water, like they always invoke admiralty law. That a lot of it relates to international waters. So you go in the water and stay in the water, and then you're no longer in U.S. soil, because water usually, again, I don't do this kind of stuff, but I know there are certain parts of the ocean and waters that do not belong to countries. Okay, they're free basically. So if they go in the water and stay on the water, like live on a houseboat, you can be a sovereign citizen on a houseboat, or an island that, I don't know if we still have any unoccupied islands somewhere. But you cannot physically be, as soon as let's say you leave the United States and go to Mexico. Well, if you try to be a sovereign citizen in Mexico, the problem is they have their own laws, okay? So you're gonna have to abide by them. So again, impossible. If they renounce their citizenship while they remain on US soil, they become a living, breathing contradiction, okay? I'm not a US citizen, but I wanna stay here, which is impossible to do, and their claim falls apart on the spot. You know, pick one. You can't have your cake and eat it too. So I want to follow these laws, but I don't want to follow these laws. Cherry picking does not work. That's how society works. Okay, we'll get to the philosophical aspect of it in a moment. So the sovereign citizen is a contradiction in terms. They wish to be a citizen, but they want to be their own sovereign. So how do you square that away? The term in itself, by its own definition, is a fallacy. It cannot exist in reality, and it's impossible to enforce. So that is why they're always going to fail. Now, I've looked into the history of what is the origin. You always want to know, where did it come from? Who originated it? And again, they're getting the short end of the stick. And a lot of people actually don't know, the ones that try to claim to be sovereign citizens, because the concept has evolved over time. I'm not saying they're all like this by any means, okay? But the origin, in the 1960s, there was a Christian white supremacist group. Okay, this is where it came from. The Posse Comitatus, okay? That's what they called themselves. I don't know what their goals were. Obviously, sounds anarchistic, sounds anti-government, and whatever, that's fine. You know, do that behind closed doors. As long as you're not inciting violence, nobody really cares, and the government's not going to touch you. Actually, I did some research. It's kind of like the definition. What is a Posse Comitatus in Latin? What is the definition? In common law, it's people. It's a group of people who were mobilized by the conservator of peace. Kind of like, I looked at it, this is my definition, kind of like an appointed vigilante or a group of vigilantes. So it had the force of government behind it, okay? So it's kind of, again, the Latin term that they decided to use for it does not comport with the sovereign citizens in the 60s with what the term originally meant. So posses were historically been assigned during emergency times or war times, when the times necessitated it, when there was an absolute need for somebody to take action for a certain need. So for instance, in 1922, there was an American posse that was assigned, I don't remember, I think it was Texas. It was somewhere in the Southwest. An American posse, the Posse Comitatus, was appointed by the governor, the mayor, who knows. And they captured Manuel Martinez and Placidio Silvas. Martinez and Silvas were arrested for the Ruby murders after the largest manhunt in the history of the Southwest. So again, they had the force of law, even though they were not law enforcement officers, they were not trained to be law enforcement, maybe they were not trained by the government in weaponry, they had no formal governmental force behind them before, but the government initiated a proceeding, appointed them as Posse Comitatus, and boom,
they had the force of law behind them. Okay, the government was backing them up. So when they captured Martinez and Silva's, their capture, even though they're not law enforcement, was lawful, and none of them were prosecuted. Okay, so again, the posse comitatus is a misnomer for a sovereign citizen cannot name themselves as such in today or 60 years ago in today's day, is because they don't have the force of law. The government did not appoint them as a sovereign citizen. So again, it's just Latin with contradictions. You can see more and more. It's impossible to square it away other than leaving the country. If you leave the country, you can become a sovereign citizen. Within the country, impossibility so far. Let's see if we can change that. The problem is the sovereign citizen are associating themselves with a group coined by a white supremacy group, many of whom were associated with terrorism and terroristic acts. There it is again. Why would you want to be a part of this group? So the origin becomes even now is clear, and the intent is even scarier. The most famous, of course, you may remember, some of you may have done this research. 2010 was the most violent act. 2 sovereign citizens killed 2 police officers, a father and son. It seems to be not the rule. It's more of an exception to the rule. But violence seems to be the end means when the courts fail to realize their claims, etc. So what is the solution? Okay, how do we square away this this sovereign citizen status desire that a person may have? Move out. Create their own, go to their own country, create their own country. If there's any land anywhere, I remember seeing an article, some father bought a piece of land somewhere in South Africa, or I'm sorry, in Africa, and it was just a tiny little piece, and he appointed himself as king so his daughter could be an actual legitimate princess, which is pretty freaking cool, if you ask me. I don't know anywhere where there's still a possibility to do that. But if you can find a piece of unoccupied land and live on it, fine. You will be able to be a sovereign citizen on that piece of land, or an island, like I said, where people just sit around on the beach all day. But, and here we come to the critical problem. Okay, even if the sovereign citizens were to collectively gather, and they would go to an island or a piece of land. Let's say we found an island, said, go have at it. This is all yours, okay? If there was truly a problem with sovereign citizens and only sovereign citizens, it would become the #1 most dangerous place to live on the planet. And I'm sure you all understand why. Because it would be complete chaos. It would be complete eat woman, child eat child world. Lawlessness would reign free. It would be chaotic completely, because the streets would be dirty. They would be dangerous. It would be deserted. Everybody would be afraid to come out of their house because they're going to be fearful for their lives, because lawlessness runs rampant. Murder is legal. It's like the movie The Purge, only it's 24/7 rather than 1 day a week. So it becomes impossible to have. So what would happen in a situation like the one I just described? We'll talk about another possible solution, by the way, but I want to get to that in a moment. I want to talk about the philosophical aspects of it. So I had to go to I'm a philosophy major. I was in college, and I remember reading about David Hume and Thomas Hobbes. It was very interesting for me to I saw a lot of squaring away with their ideology and the ideology of these 2 philosophers in the 18th century. So David Hume, in the treatise on human nature, said that basically human beings are naturally social. It is impossible, quote, "'Tis utterly impossible for men to remain any considerable time in the savage condition which precedes society, but that is the very first state in the situation may justly be esteemed social." So he said it in the treatise of human nature in 1739. Thomas Hobbes argued the opposite. He thought, and he's actually would probably be, I would say, probably the first sovereign citizen concept generator, if you will. I think now that I kind of look at it in hindsight, he wrote in his Leviathan in the work, the Chive, I forgot how to pronounce it. He argued that natural inequalities between humans are not so great as to give anyone clear superiority, and thus all must live in constant fear of loss or violence. So that during time, quote, during the time men live without common power to keep them all in awe, they are in that condition which is called war. And such a war is of every man against every man. Okay, and that there it is, the breakdown of society, the state of nature. Okay, even animals don't socialize in this way. They create societies, they create communities. We are animals at the end of the day. So again, even philosophically speaking, the sovereign citizen cannot exist. They fail because they are going against their own nature. So they're a double or triple contradiction in terms, as far as you can see at this point. It would be, if there would be a nation of all sovereign citizens, they would themselves, this is what would actually happen. This is what David Hume alluded to a moment ago. They would create laws because they would realize the society that we live in is completely impossible to coexist in. You're going back to caveman times when you see your mate and you want to eat their piece of meat, so you club them over the head. Okay, that's why we created laws against murder, so that kind of stuff doesn't happen. So it's stupid and it fails in a civilized society. So there is another solution. Okay, and this is where I think the sovereign citizen really comes from, is their displeasure with the way that the justice system has been not designed, but where has it evolved into? Because 70 years ago, we didn't have all the things that we have now. Incarceration rates are at an all-time high, yada, yada, yada. I don't want to get into all that. You know the drill. But so solution number 2 is to have a better checks and balances system, on the government. So have more lawyers, not just number lawyers, because I think we already have enough, but better lawyers. I mean, the problem is that we have a lot of lawyers who simply are willing to partner up with the machine. And it's sad and frightening to see, but it does happen sometimes. And if you have more lawyers advocating for the preservation of rights of people and actually fighting cases in court, fighting for their clients, doing jury trials, all that good stuff, which we are meant to do anyway, then I think the concept of the sovereign citizen may eventually fade away, disappear. Why? Because there'd be no need for it. Officers would be the most amazing people on the planet who would go out and simply perform their duties of maintaining the peace rather than extorting the citizens, as we see, for instance, in the confiscation of property cases, where they suspect that this is drug proceeds. Boom, they confiscate your car, every money, all the money you have in the trunk, all the money you have in your wallet. I mean, that's a huge problem, and that's just the tip of the iceberg. So we need to have we need to police the police. But we need to do it in a safe manner. And again, I think the concept of the sovereign citizen is far too dangerous to do it in that manner. What we need is to do this by the rules that we all created and agreed upon, okay? Going back to the laws, using the laws to our advantage as they are written, taking cases to appeal, creating more law, better law. We need to evolve forward. The sovereign citizen is trying to evolve us backwards, to devolve back into times of lawlessness and cavemanship, okay? I am not following these laws. That's out of frustration with the system, I believe, okay? So maybe if we exert enough pressure and do it civilly, legally, and peacefully, we will eventually change the system. It may take 20 years, but who cares? Start now, and then in 20 years, you reap the benefits, rather than completely ignore it and then suffer for maybe forever, and then my suggestion on the best solution. So again, this is a call to action to attorneys everywhere to try more cases, defend your clients to the best of your ability, even if they can't afford the full fee, whatever, give them discounts. I do it all the time. If I feel that you have a good case and you deserve, not deserve, that's a bad word, but you need, and I can afford to, then I will go forward and defend you. So there's basically a broken system. We need to fix it. And the sovereign citizen is a prime example as to why this is all happening. So I think a true sovereign citizen who, even after we begin to fix the system, etc., if a sovereign citizen, a true believer, a sovereign citizen wants to stay a sovereign citizen, disobey the laws they don't like and obey the laws they do like, they have one course of action: leave. There is another one I came up with as I was thinking about it this morning, is to simply follow the law as it is written and pretend in their mind as if they're not. And that way it solves the problem. They hold on to their strong belief, but they don't utter it. They don't talk about it. and then everybody will be better off. It'll make life easier for them and make life easier for us. So leave it up to the lawyers. Don't try to lawyer the system, okay? You will always fail. Pro se litigants, pro se meaning people representing themselves, are always frowned upon by the system. They're always looked down on because they don't know the laws, usually, not always. I mean, some people are very, very, very smart and they study up on it and they become better lawyers than maybe 95% of the lawyers in the courtroom, you know, in the courthouse that morning. But at the end of the day, how many of those really are there that can take the time and blah, blah, blah. So leave it up to the lawyers. Now, I know I've been ignoring comments. There's probably been 1,000 of them by now. But I did that intentionally because I don't want to focus on that right now. I understand there's going to be a lot of passion. A lot of you are going to disagree with what I say. Some of you will agree, whatever. I am here to voice my opinion as a practicing attorney after having reviewed what it means to be a sovereign citizen, because I've always known about the concept, but I wanted to explore it a little bit deeper for purposes of this live stream. So having said all of this, I want to know, and I will be responding to these comments in due course, probably selectively, but I want to know your thoughts. So
okay, let's go to the singer swap thing. I'm not sure which one. I think I'll try showing the shorter of the two on the situation first. So let's see. Okay. Oops. Let's get it.
Always have the wrong idea just because somebody mentions this word law that everybody has to bow to it. I do not believe that way at all.
Right or wrong, John Singer was the kind of man whose will could not be broken. A fundamentalist and a polygamist with 2 wives. John Singer lived in the mountains of northern Utah, where he and his large family triggered an avalanche of violence and bloodshed nearly 3 decades ago. A sad saga that left John Singer and a Utah police officer dead. A story that could also serve as a cautionary tale for authorities today as they continue their pursuit of fugitive polygamous prophet Warren Steed Jeffs.
We would not make the first move, but I would not let anybody come into my home and take my children away from me without putting up some type of a fight.
And for John Singer, the problem started when he and his first wife, Vicky, pulled all of their children out of public schools in the late 1970s, just as Warren Jeffs did with hundreds of his followers' children about 6 years ago. The reason for the Singers? Because the textbook showed pictures of black and white people together.
John and I believe that there should be segregation in the races. They're integrating the books. He just objected to the textbook.
At first, the state of Utah agreed to let the Singers do something almost unheard of at the time, homeschool their children. But when John then refused to even let state officials monitor the education, a series of angry court battles erupted, leading to an arrest warrant being issued for John Singer.
I looked out the window and I saw 3 men on top of John, and I just ran out the door.
Indeed, on one occasion, heavy-handed cops posing as reporters tried to tackle Singer and take him in, but the raw-boned farmer fought back and got away. And suddenly, John Singer was a folk hero.
I told him I ain't got no interest in shooting him, but I told him if you ever try it again, I blow your stupid heads off.
But a short time later, it was John Singer who was shot and killed by police. They say he pulled a gun on them as they tried to arrest him out by his mailbox one morning.
Okay,
silenced Singer,
oops.
but only made the cries of his family.
One thing that they didn't mention is that he took a second wife, and the second wife moved to the family property along with her children from her first legitimate marriage, and the father of those children took exception to it, and he got awarded custody of those children by the state, and John Singer refused to turn over the children to the custodial parent, and so that's what was going on in that situation. It wasn't just a case of they were homeschooling the kids because their kids are getting exposed to photos of black kids and white kids hanging out together, and we don't want to have any mixing of the races. And you got to remember that he was the son of an SS officer from Nazi Germany. So okay, back to you.
And his supporters louder. This woman is John Singer's sister.
Are you happy?
I didn't do that.
No, but you were part of it.
No, I'm not.
Oh, you better believe it. Your blood on your hands too.
Well, I'm sorry.
And this face-off between religious fundamentalism and secular law didn't end there. A couple of years later, John Singer's son-in-law, a young man named Adam Swap, who had married two of John Singer's daughters, then tried to avenge John's death by blowing up a nearby Mormon church, an act that Adam Swap reportedly believed would lead to John Singer's second coming.
The chapel in the building and the cultural hall is totally destroyed.
Adam Swap and the rest of the heavily armed Singer family then held police at bay for nearly 2 weeks until they shot and killed a police officer by the name of Fred House. Armored vehicles then rolled into the Singers' compound to end the standoff, a bloody little footnote in America's polygamist history, but also a powerful reminder to just how fast violence can erupt when secular law collides with fundamentalist beliefs in places like northern Utah, places like Colorado City, and in places like West Texas.
It's not if they're gonna kill me, it's with my God.
Okay. I've got a second video. Let's go to that one. It's a little more detailed.
In the 1970s and 80s, 2 deadly shootouts took place at this cabin. It's the John Singer cabin, and after moving here from Nazi Germany and trying to put his traumatic past behind him, he made this himself for his family. He lived a relatively quiet polygamous lifestyle up until the state came down on him, and I'll detail a little bit about his legal troubles later. Now, I've heard 2 separate stories of the death of John Singer. Every person that knows the case locally that I've asked said that he walked down his driveway, went left, which connects to the main road, and retrieved his mail. And then he was shot in the back by 2 police officers.
I looked out the window and I saw 3 men on top of John, and I just ran out the door.
Indeed, on one occasion, heavy-handed cops posing as reporters tried to tackle Singer and take him in, but the raw-boned farmer fought back and got away. And suddenly, John Singer was a folk hero.
I told him I ain't got no interest in shooting him, but I told him if you ever try it again, I blow your stupid heads off.
But a short time later, it was John Singer who was shot and killed by police. They say he pulled a gun on them as they tried to arrest him out by his mailbox one morning. A shooting that silenced Singer, but only made the cries of his family and his supporters louder. This woman is John Singer's sister.
Are you happy?
I didn't do that.
No, but you were part of it.
No, I'm not.
Oh, you better believe it. Your blood on your hands too.
Now, the media reported it totally differently. The media said on January 18th, 1979, his quote-unquote compound, which in reality is just this cabin that he made by hand, was raided by 10 Summit County sheriff's officers, and they said that Singer pulled a gun and they were forced to shoot him. But literally everybody else says he was retrieving his mail and he was shot in the back. And then 9 years pass, and a relative of John Singer, a man by the name of Adam Swap, he holes up in this cabin. But the problem with this is that directly to the west of the cabin, to the right of this frame, is Hoyt Canyon. And Hoyt Canyon feeds this area with water, and then it percolates down into the valley and supplies a lot of farms. So naturally, the Singers were on a very valuable water supply, and authorities came in to move the water. Well, this kind of cut them off and destroyed a lot of their production value, and it really lowered the value of their land, and the only real authority in direct location to them was the LDS Church just a quarter mile down the road, and the LDS Church had been defaming them for years. They made these people look like horrible, bad influences on the community, and they just believed that the LDS Church was somehow responsible.
When you look at what was going on at the time, to me, it all came down to water rights. And if someone's messing with your water rights, someone's going to get killed.
Now, again, the media was supposed to take the orthodox mainstream lie that Adam Swap and Singer's grieving wife believed that this is a righteous Singer.
A couple of years later, John Singer's son-in-law, a young man named Adam Swap, who had married two of John Singer's daughters, then tried to avenge John's death by blowing up a nearby Mormon church, an act that Adam Swap reportedly believed would lead to John Singer's second coming.
Now, of course, they didn't. It was over water rights. But anyway, Adam Swap walks down, plants a staff into the ground in front of the LDS church at 3 a.m. in the morning on January 16th. And then he walks into the church, he plants a box of dynamite, and it blows up the church, causing millions of dollars of damage. Then he walks back up to his cabin and basically just holes up there. He knows that authorities are going to come there, and because it's January, it's snowing, they can see the footprints going from the church to his cabin. Everybody knows who did it. So on 25 January, they bring out Ogden Kraut, who is a very well-known independent fundamentalist in the Mormon community, and his son kind of picked up the torch and kept it running. He still studies Mormon fundamentalists, and he records their histories. And they brought him up, and Ogden Kraut came back to the authorities and said, essentially, there's no talking with these people. They're not going to surrender peacefully, and in reality, they just want you to leave. They just want to be left alone. Well, authorities figure that that's not going to do. So on January 28th, the final confrontation begins. And this sounds like a Looney Tunes skit. Basically, the police here try to booby trap a loudspeaker that's in their front yard under cover of darkness. And in the morning, Adam Swap sees this loudspeaker with a bunch of wires hanging off it, and he just shoots at it. But the goal of this was to, once the loudspeaker is activated, a strobe light would go off, which they believed would incapacitate Adam Swap. So when this happened, Adam Swap, he shoots at the loudspeaker, and the guy, the Department of Corrections officer, who is supposed to sick the dogs on him, all he sees from the tree line is the loudspeaker is going off, the strobe lights are going off, so he unleashes the dogs. And then John Timothy Singer, John Singer's biological son, shoots one of the officers. And Lieutenant Fred House is mortally wounded. He dies on scene, and a wild shootout ensues in which Adam Swap is injured. Now, several other officers are injured as well, and then they bring in two MRAPs to go essentially do a Waco, although they don't totally demolish the cabin, and they take heavy fire, and the Singers and the Swaps surrender. Now, what's important to notice here is that the fatal shot was fired by John Singer's biological son, who was at the time confined to a wheelchair. But because authorities blamed Adam Swap, he's the one who did decades in jail. He was released recently, and he has sort of disavowed the incident. But apparently, the Singer and Swap families still have descendants living here. And here's the general overview of the town of Marion. As you follow this area down, that's Hoyt's Canyon. And Hoyt was an early settler with the LDS Church in the region. And it feeds water right down to where the John Singer cabin is today. There's actually a lake right here, a little pond that would feed their community. They had basically a community of their own family. It was the authorities called it a compound, but it was just a little family area. And that lake dried up after water rights were removed. This is another cabin that the Singers holed up in during the standoff of January 1988. And down here at the end of the road, which connects the street, John Singer, according to everybody who actually took part in this case, was shot in the back by police officers. Now, they claimed that it was a self-defense situation and that they raided his house and he aimed at them, so they shot him. But in reality, he was shot in the back while he tried to get his mail. Now, as we zoom down here, we can see the cemetery where John Singer is buried, although the last time I checked here, I can't find his grave. And just down here is the LDS Church, which Adam Swap on January 16th, 1988 walked to 3 a.m. and he planted a bomb which blew up the interior. Didn't do much damage to the exterior, Then he walked back up and the standoff began. And it would end in this cabin right here.
Hello, hello, hello. It's Attorney Mike Graham coming to you from Chicago. As you
I figure that's probably about it for today, but might do another one of these sovereign citizen things because there's just so much intriguing stuff out there, and there's videos which debunk a lot of these sovereign citizen arguments. But we're past the 2-hour mark, so I think that we'll call that good for today. And let's see, an update on things. We've got the Jared Lysick hearing, which was supposed to be Wednesday, has been postponed until I think it was the 19th. Let me double check. Yes, the 19th. And they had a link for it, so it was going to be online, but that link disappeared Friday. It wasn't supposed to be in on, and so I'm kind of torn now because we've got the Jim Brenner case in federal court, which I believe is the 17th of April, and I don't know how long that's going to take. I need to call the court and see if they've got a projected length on that. So I'm not sure, and I need to check even if there isn't a conflict whether I would be allowed to go in. So I need to do some checking before I can find out whether I can do the Jared Lysick hearing, which is probably just going to be another pro forma hearing. And the Jim Brenner is going to be appearing in state court on the 24th, which is going to be where he is his first appearance with the new murder charge. And the further business on the assault that predates Dylan Round's murder and the weapons, state weapons charges. So let's see. There was one other thing. Oh, Lori Vallow Daybell. I'm not sure exactly what's going to be happening with court on Monday, so I'm going to set my alarm, and if it looks like we've got some audio or something, so that we have can listen to the opening statements in court. I want to cover that, and if there is something substantive to listen to, then I'll do a pop-up live. So check back. It's not really sure what's going to be happening because nobody has posted about that. So anyway. Oh, you've been doing your junk journals again, Samantha? Okay, well, we have to. You need to post some pictures in on Facebook. So that we can see that. So okay. Oh, that's fine. Used a pink marker on blue birthday card to turn it purple. That works. So I guess we'll shut down for now, and check back on Monday, and if there's something substantial to listen to, then we'll stream that. If not, then I'll do a recap of court later in the day. So I'll bid you good evening and good night over there, Samantha. And we'll see you later. Bye-bye. Let's see.